That includes the whole facility, not the parsonage. Right, subterranean. Yes, thank you, Nadine. Any questions? Okay, the next project. The screen porch. This is a large screen porch, 32 feet long by 14 feet deep. And you can see it's an aluminum construction with vinyl siding. Next slide. You can see some of the water damage in the paneling under the windows. I'm sure we would all love to have something like this in our home. And the pastor has had this in her house with her lung condition. And it's full of mold. She can't even open the doors. And I'm surprised we hadn't been sued years ago. I guess it would be.
Here for a while, they got the mold out, or the mildew out when I first got here.
Yeah, but it is, it's beyond repair. And the next slide, this is the best bid we have so far. Now, we have only 2 bids. We've got another one to get. And John, matter of fact, I'm meeting Adams Aluminum tomorrow at 10 o'clock to get the final bid. The removal of the current porch and new construction, all aluminum, with the AC and tile flooring is $26,000. That's for the screen porch, replacement, tear down and replacement. Any questions?
Yes, is that the same dimensions, that new porch?
Yes.
What is the possibility of making that porch a little smaller? 32 feet long?
Could we do it?
Yeah.
I'm sure we could. But
if we save X number of dollars, I thought.
I know one thing, and just from when we did use it the first couple years I was here, and I don't know how, where it goes beyond the last slider of the wall, and there's not much room after that. So
Right.
because they do a wraparound, we could come in one slider and go up the other. But that's something to ask.
I'm just raising the point that 32 feet is a long porch.
right, but as Nadine just said, her bedroom sliding glass door is within 5 feet of the end of the porch. So I don't think we would want to cut it short of the bedroom sliding glass door. So we could, that's something we can look at, absolutely.
So on the other hand, if you're not gonna walk from master's bedroom, walk out on the
I
patio.
did, I did.
I know, but that's not needed, though, that's what I'm saying, future use, really. I mean, it's
Right. Back.
Let's get the microphone, it's hard for us to hear up here. And everybody else can hear. Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Max, oh wait, microphone. Other people can't hear you. Hold it close.
A friend of mine had the same situation in her home. She waited until after the hurricane season, and the hurricane did it for free.
We printed that hurricane for
They
that.
moved it for free
We did.
wait till after the hurricane season.
But we can wait on the tree or the hurricane.
We did last year, we were praying that the tree would go down.
The mic is coming right behind you.
My question on that, on your bid of 26,000, does that include make sure there's no further mold anyplace else within the structure? Because if you have to take mold out, that is a different charge. You'll find out much more than 26,000. And I would make sure that that's so stated in there because, to give you an idea of my background, I was maintenance director of a hospital in Cincinnati and an Alzheimer's center. And I oversaw all maintenance and everything in the whole facility. So, I mean, I would make sure I clarify that. And also on the roof, I've noticed in the roofs of the gutters, is that you will get backup when the gutters are filled, you get backup that goes up into the ceilings. And that would cause a lot of leakage and damage if you after that. So I just wanted to point that out to help you.
And I appreciate that. I think everything that has mold that we're aware of, and like you said, that we're aware of, will be removed, but we can sure get that checked before the complete roof and both exterior walls of the porch.
When you get a roof that's leaking, it will drip from other areas and go, it might run here and be all the way over here. And that's what I'm saying, because with the mold, that the mold will form, no matter if it's over here, it could be over here too, because it's got enough condensation on the seal.
Right.
So that's what you have to watch for.
Appreciate it. Thank you. We will definitely do that. Okay, any other questions on the screen porch? Next slide. Okay, and we also have a remaining balance on the air conditioning of $2,340. Now that's $17,000 for the Fellowship Hall air conditioning. And we had some generous givers, and we appreciate everybody that contributed. We appreciate everybody's concern in the air conditioning. Any questions on the air conditioning? Okay, next. The sign. Selwood United, this is our current sign. It is, look at it. It's dilapidated. Poor Duke Ellington goes out and redoes the lettering every week. And what was it, less than a month ago, we had put new gas piston arms on each side so it would stay up, but it fell and hit him the other day. And so now he has to lean it down and prop it up on his head so he can change the letters. And plus the other sign that's in front of out in front of the sanctuary here, he does them both at the same time. Quite a chore. I've relieved him a couple of times when he was out of town, and it's not an easy and fun job, but it's a necessary job. All right, our new sign that we are looking at. This is a drawing of the new sign from Stewart Signs. 11 feet long, and it shows 6 feet. Well, the county has now made us increase the height to 7 feet. So the sign is 11 feet long and 7 feet high. The Fall Festival portion is the message center, the LED message board. It is 8 feet long and 1 foot in height, and we can show slides just like we can here on the TV. It has the capability to change every 8 seconds with a new message, with graphics and motion involved in the sign. So the cost of this sign was $17,000, $17,600 now, and the installation to code is $4,000, and it's already being paid back in interest from the foundation. Over $2,000 has been paid back already, and we still don't have the sign. I talked to them Friday, and it is still being tied up in the permitting office, and they have responded to them 3 times and sent back sealed drawings by a certified engineer. And they think there's a rookie inspector that's doing this project, because they keep getting things that are sent back that if they would just turn the page and there's the footers, and they're asking for, dimensions of the footing and all this, and it's on the next page. So this is the kind of holdup that, and Harris had the same thing happen when we replaced the air condition in the Fellowship Hall. Harris had to resubmit 3 times for the air conditioning in the Fellowship Hall. And that's where we are with this sign. Any questions on the sign?
Now's your time.
Pauline?
With all these other problems we're looking at, why did we even think about spending that much on a sign? How important was that compared to everything else?
Because we have not we have looked at, I'm the villain. I brought this project to the trustees. The trustees approved the project. We took it to the leadership council. If you drive up and down this street, and I live in the Selwood proper, and up and down this street, people have lived here their whole lives, and they couldn't tell you what goes on in this church. They need something out here that is visual, that is up to date, that is current, and they can see what's going on in this church. We have people on the leadership council that have been in other churches in previous years in their lives and have seen the growth that occurs in a church just by the addition of an electronic message board. The average Stewart Signs has in their brochure, of course they're in the business to make money, but they are the recommended sign company by the Florida Conference. And the average growth, once you install an electronic message sign, is 20%. So it has quite a factor in a community. Hopefully we can get that kind of return for our money. That's the reason for presenting this project to begin with.
If I could-
Well, we'll have to wait and see then.
Absolutely.
Excuse me, but when we look at all the other projects that we have, it seems to me that we could look at a slightly less expensive sign. I mean, when you counter all the projects that we have to have, that sign for $23,000 is really,
Can I first address, partly Pauline, I'll give this back to Mickey to address yours, Barb. One, I just want to say, when that sign was approved, when we looked at it, we didn't have a lot of these expenses. We didn't know about the roof. We did know about the porch. We did know about the porch. We did know about the porch. And that's something that has always been put on hold. But other than the porch, which obviously that's been an ongoing, but the air conditioning, we did not know we had the problem. The roof, we did not know we had the problem. And what was the other? The tree. I mean, the tree's there, and it's been recommended by the people that have come out to, I think, inspect the porch that we needed the tree removal. But just want to just say that not everything of all these numbers were known. Some were, yes, but not everything was known. Some were also looked at a difference of a maintenance and a repair, such as a porch, versus a communication for taking an effort to go outreach, to make outreach. So I'll give this back to Mickey, but I just want to say some of it we didn't know, but I'm not saying not all.
Thank you.
You distinguish on money, the source of funds. The sign is not coming from our federal fund. We have a shortfall. It's taken from the foundation where we have balances that are helping.
That's where I was going.
Okay.
Okay. Barb, the answer to your question, we do have a list of projects. We've got a general idea of how much they're going to be, and maybe it's frivolous. I don't really know. It's like Pauline said, the proof will be in the pudding once this thing happens. We'll see if it actually increases the membership, and then we'll see if it actually increases our finances, which is a result of increased participation in the church. But as Steve was alluding to, the foundation gives us the ability to do something like this without hitting you, the membership of the congregation. It doesn't come out of your pocket. And indirectly, it will down the road. This is interest we're not earning. But we're not asking you to give another dime to pay for this sign. We're asking that you get behind us. We think we're doing the right thing. Some people don't agree with that, and I understand, and I appreciate your feelings. But, I mean, we're here. We're one body. We're united to glorify our Lord. and we think we're doing the right thing for our church to go out and bring in new membership. This is something that is visible, viable, and will be, I think, an interest getter in the community of Zellwood. Skip?
So, I'm
I'm sorry.
say something, sorry.
I'm sorry.
So one thing I know, this is the first time I'm seeing all these numbers as well, that it does seem somewhat overwhelming. However, if you hear the message, this has been let go for many, many years. Who in your own home doesn't do a termite inspection for over 15 years? I mean, and by not taking care of the things and maintaining it, it could just be worse and grow more. And so that's just one thing that I wanted to point out, is that I know it's not easy, but I think we, as the church, need to come together to see what can we do. I mean, when I'm looking at the porch, again, that's a health hazard. And so what do we do? Either you pay somebody or you do the work yourself. So do we want to look at that? But again, I think it's things that we can't, continue to ignore.
Skip? No, you got mine too.
Okay. Well, my question is, how old was the original air conditioning unit?
Which air? The one in the fellowship hall?
Right.
It was over 40 years old, original,
How long did you think it was going to last?
till it died, and it did.
I mean, that should have been taken into consideration regardless if it hadn't gone out. I'm not opposed to the sign, but, if we want air conditioning, we should have made sure that that was taken care of first. That's all I have to say.
We do have them checked annually. They come in and check the units annually. And, and I'm not an air conditioning person by any means, but they check the coil. That's usually when you get holes in the copper lining, then it's going to go. And they told us last year, well, no, it was this year when they checked another unit, and we sent them over to look at this one. It was making a gosh awful racket. And they laughed and said, well, it's on its last leg. And 6 months later, we have a new air conditioner. And again, we do have them checked, but we didn't have a whole lot of notice on it dying.
And that's part of what
Right, exactly. Sissy?
I'd just like to say, I really don't think we need that expensive a sign, but I've also, my question, and I should have asked it when you asked if there was anything about the porch. Have you considered just taking it down, just doing away with the porch? Is it necessary? I can remember when the parsonage was where the office is now. And in my opinion, that's where our church should be right now. But that was a decision that was made long ago, and we're to that point. But we've got to cut someplace. And in my opinion, the porch is one that we could possibly do without. Exactly, does not have to be replaced.
We do have a bid in process of just removal of the porch. Now, this is something we haven't really pursued, but it is an idea, and I have had someone look at just removal of the porch, just to see how much it would be and how much would be it, mainly just to check and see what these other contractors are, how much they're allowing for a tear down and then a replacement porch. But we wanted to get some comparable figures in mind. And so we will have a bid on just removal. That's not where we want to go, but that may be where we wind up going. Who knows? But appreciate your remarks.
Well, and if I could just add something with the parsonage when you mentioned this one stuff, just as there are, and I don't know what a porch is, I really don't, but my understanding here. Just to mention, yeah, thank you. Just to mention, there are some criterias by the conference and district on what a parsonage has to have now. I don't know if a porch is, I'm not alluding to that, but when you mention about using this, they won't allow certain houses to be parsonage anymore unless they meet certain criteria, which is outside of our hand on that. But I don't know if it's, I'm not saying that's a porch, I'm just saying on certain sizes, like you have to have, I think, 3 bedrooms and a den, a family room. I mean, they have certain things that have to be part of a parsonage now.
You had mentioned that these are all ongoing projects that are in the works and that you're getting bids on and prices. But Pastor Nadine's been here for 12 years and this is a woman with lung issues. So my question to you is, as far as prioritizing whatever has to be done with that porch, it seems to me that it should be the top of the list because of her health. And it just appalls me that it's been put on the back burner.
I appreciate that, but I just want to make clear, the first few years they had done some stuff and it was fine. It really was. We had some parties there, it was good. It's only been as the rain and the water leakage continued, and it's not impeding my health because I just don't go out there. If you go out there, you'll see all the little dead bugs in the furniture. But, you know, I mean, I get that, but I'm living within the house. And there's no threat to me that we know of anything that's affecting me in the house. So I appreciate the concern, but we've always had this, I've been good with what we've been trying to do.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question about the termite control for the parsonage. Are we looking at that as well? If it hasn't been done at the church, what about the parsonage?
It's in the same boat, I'm sure. They did not include that in the $3,100, the entire facility, but we were going to include it, and I'm sure the cost would go up somewhat.
But I mean, it's an asset that we need to look at.
Absolutely.
And so we can't, like she said, we have to do these things to protect, our asset.
You're correct. We are debt-free, and we hope to maintain that.
I was back at the patio. I think everybody here has probably been to my house. I do a lot of entertaining for the church, and we're pretty much so outside. And I know an extra room would be wonderful. But we have to air condition, we have to heat it if it's going to be used. And it just seems like that big slab of cement, which is there now, could be turned in with the help of the congregation and with volunteers. We could turn it into a couple tables and umbrellas and some pretty seating, and that we could all enjoy over at the parsonage without the added expense of air conditioning and heating, roof, window treatment, etc., etc.
And we hope to add a pool next summer. I'm teasing, folks.
I'll take it though. Yeah, the mosquitoes, right.
Okay, it appears that what's happened here is we've gotten off on a tangent. The issues that Vicki's talking about are setting the priorities to pay for important projects out of the foundation. That money is there. It's a matter of deciding how and when you want to spend it. You are getting dividends, and sometimes the dividends are better in some years than others. But the bottom line is it does produce some income. To me, the more pressing issue you haven't even dealt with yet this morning is you got an $18,000 shortfall in this year's budget. And Lois put forth the figure of $479, rounded up to $500. Now, is that over and above what you're pledging already, Lois?
Yes, that is.
Okay, just doing some quick math, which I sat here and did. It amounts to less than $10 a week to increase your pledge by, to cover that shortage.
But folks, that's your big priority right now. We gotta pay the bills. You got water and electricity and all of the other things that go along with, you know, salaries and everything else. That's got to be taken care of. And you're $18,000 short. So you got one or two things you can do. You can either come up with the additional money through a campaign to get people to increase their pledge. And like I said, it figures out to less than $10 a week. Or you got to go in there and cut that budget. Now you claim you've already cut it to the bone. You may have to cut it even more. But the bottom line is, you cannot budget more money than you got revenue for. I was asked to be finance chairman 7 years ago because I had a business background and I set budgets. And the bottom line is, if I had ever put in a budget that exceeded my projected revenues, they'd have run me out the front door. Now, unfortunately, this is a business perspective. And what you're dealing with here on this budget is a business issue. We are a church. We're part of God's people. But we have a business issue here, and that is you budgeted more money than you got projected revenue. So you got to deal with that. Now, Mickey's issues, it's a matter of setting the priorities. The money is there. There's $160,000 there. What do you want to spend it on? Okay, that's an interesting conversation. But the bottom line is you don't have to worry about how you're going to pay for it. It's going to be done. Thank you.
Yeah, that's good clarification to keep us on track here. You've got the foundation money, which was $160-some thousand budget or balance right now. And what we've talked about on leadership is you don't want to just go spend that carelessly and, you know, just spend it all. But we do want to spend what we feel as the leadership council is appropriate to spend for the significant projects. And that's why we're in the positions we're in. You know, when people don't contribute to the input, or we put things out, we have to look where the source of money is. We've just had all these home gatherings that Judy and Pastor Nadine and I were the ones that coordinated that since last October. We've taken all that information and we've communicated that the major losses, I think like 80% or more of the people that are not here to give now, that were here to give a year ago or 2 years ago, because of death or moving away. It's not because people just arbitrarily walked out of the church. 3 or 4 giving units did. And they did because of some specific issues at the conference level over the LGBTQ. We've talked about all that. And maybe some people, maybe a couple of people left because they don't like the pastor or they don't like the leadership council. You're going to have that turn all the time. But to On's point, the way you address the budget, the main 2 ways to address the budget is either everybody gives more money, or we build our church through communicating and getting out in the community, which we're doing. I 100% support the sign. I've started working at the school over the last few months. There's 600, I think it went up recently from 604 to 614 or 617 kids. The parents and grandparents and whoever picked them up, and they traveled past that corner. Almost all of them, maybe a few turn at the previous street, but most of them come down Washington to that corner. That would be the most visible location. Yesterday, we were out there, a whole group of us that are in here today, at the school for an event. We were a big part of it as a church, also in other ways. And we're impacting those kids. Some of those kids have started now to come to, you saw some of the youth and children today. The youth and children groups are building back up, and that's going to bring people back into the church. We've had people join us, our youth group, Kevin over there who came to us through David. That's awesome. That's how we're going to build it back up. It's not about just one way where everybody put your hand out and give more money. It's to the giving units and bigger. But you do that through bringing people to Christ, not just by going out saying we need more people to sit in the pews, we need more people to put money in the plate. We need to build this church, God's church. And we're not going to do that by sitting and letting things fall apart, keeping $160,000, $70,000 in a fund and say, well, that's okay, the porch can fall down, we got the money, but we're not going to spend it. And we don't want to spend it all. I mean, that's an important thing. Leadership council meetings Judy is an awesome leader for that. And those meetings, we've communicated that, but maybe some people don't know. Those are open to every member of the congregation. You can't vote, but you can come and voice your opinion and be heard. Kind of like a county commission meets, you can go and voice your opinion, bring in data, bring in, whatever, and see how the leadership council operates. So we invite you. We would like to have some help on some of our committees. We get pretty tired of just being the ones that have to do this, but we're empowered, if you will, to make these decisions on behalf of the church. So please, if you have input, give us that input so we can work with it and make our church better and make God's church grow.
Right, is there a question? Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask Mickey, you said that the sign was not going to cost us a penny, did not come out of anybody's pocket, or you're not asking for a handout. Why don't all the other projects come under the same heading?
Well, and I think Lois is going to hit that at the very end. She's going to give you our options as how to fund these projects. The sign.
But you've already decided on the sign, right? And you said that it was not going to cost us anything.
It's being paid back from the interest the foundation is earning, the general fund foundation.
Okay.
Account. If you would put that this is the amount of money we would have to borrow, and Lois will cover that. This is the amount of money to fund these projects, excluding the sign. The sign is not included in that.
Borrowed, but it's being paid back by the city.
Right, okay.
That's what
Right. And I called or signed, someone asked Janet the other night at Choir or Circle or something, how much would it cost to back out of that sign if we wanted to just throw it away? How much would it take? Well, I called them and asked them, and it would take about $2,300 to buy, this is the engineering drawings and the money that they have a walk-through company they pay to take the sealed plans to the permitting office, and of course they've had to do that now 3 times, but it would take about $2,300 just to completely walk away from the sign. And I'm with Steve. I think it would, this sign is going to hopefully be a boon to the church. But, and Pauline, the proof is in the pudding. And I think Lois is going to give you the...
Can I address something that's already been said about the well, and just real quick on this sign. One thing y'all don't necessarily know, Duke does that sign. And sometimes our advertising, if you want to say, doesn't get out based on his schedule or ability, or by the fact that he doesn't have the information, because I haven't given it to Janet, who hasn't given it to him. It gets out there sort of last minute. Or we can't have multiple things, like, okay, they're putting the sermon up, but we're also running VBS, and we're running a dinner, and we're running a small group and stuff like that. We can't get all that information on there, and when it's all like that at once, no one reads it. So this allows us to communicate almost spot on, computer-wise, to get our information out there. So there's that advantage of a sign. But I just want to address, Ron, I appreciate your comment about the business decision. And in one level it is, but we are a church. And our giving and our stewardship and how we give is not only a business decision, it is a spiritual matter. Giving and how we are generous, how God is generous, is also a spiritual matter. And that's where we've got to really pray. And if God's called us to be this church in Zellwood at this time in this season, and there are certain things that we all would also have to do or do at our own homes, we just got to really say, well, what is that? And you know, the 472 amount that Lois calculated out per head is an above and beyond gift between now and year end. And there are some other means that will be talked about how we can fund this. And some of it is off of faith. Yes, we lost some pledges last year, but we also gained new people. And every year we lose some and we gain some that we don't get their pledge until the following year if they haven't turned it in mid-year. So some of that money is still just projected, but we still have to be frugal and wise and all to try to say what we know. And that's where we're at with an $18,000 shortage. Based on what we know at this point, on the pledges that have come in, we're running about $18,000 short. We have done a lot of cutting. We have taken, such as the termite was in the budget. We pulled that out as one of these special projects to try to make sure, you know, and Lois, I'm going to turn it, I think Lois is going to cover the different possible ways we can fund. I feel like you said that.
Okay, here's the status of our special projects today. Our memory garden, they borrowed from the foundation $18,000. They have already paid back $4,000. The payback is when they sell a brick, that is where we get the money to be paid back. So again, that doesn't come out of our general fund. It comes out from the sale of bricks. So our balance there is $14,000. Our sign borrowed was $22,000, paid back to the foundation is $2,146.48. And again, we don't even have the sign and we have not taken that money out of the foundation. So we're paying ahead on that. And the interest earned, we never calculated that interest into our budget. So when somebody says, well, you're paying that, it's not out of our pockets. No, we just always put it into the checking account for any type of emergency that would come up. So it never has been, since Ron and I have been, it has never been included in the budget. So that's what they mean when they say it doesn't come out of anything. Air conditioner, Fellowship Hall, the cost of that air conditioner was $17,000. No money has been borrowed on that air conditioner because through our faithful donations and our faithful pledgers and non-pledgers, we raised $14,660. So the balance on the air conditioner is $2,340, and that is part of one of the projects that does have a priority. Our options is, as we have talked about, it's borrowing from the foundation. That money, $169,000, is there. It's supposed to be used for special projects and needs of this church. We could have a capital drive, basically. Excuse me. Basically, how the air conditioner worked fundamentally is what it is. $472, like we said for the budget. Well, that would be the same thing for capital drive. We said X amount of dollars, and then you have over a span of 1, 2, 3 years, you can pay it back. So that is a capital drive that we could have at this church. And withdrawing from the foundation is what I explained before. We could also borrow from the foundation. We would borrow money from the foundation, and we would have to pay that back. Well, if we can't meet our budget now, I don't know how we're going to make a payment to pay back the foundation, but that is one of our options. And then lastly is a mortgage. We could have a mortgage on the parsonage and get that screened-in patio fixed and for any other things that we need. So those are the options for the projects. But again, I have to reiterate with Ron, our budget we're in need of money for the budget. We cannot take it out of the foundation. So these are two separate issues. And, you know, I'm sorry they have to come up at the same time, but we need to balance our budget. I will not sign off on a not-balanced budget, nobody would expect me to. So we need to do something. Our next option is for our, what do we call those things? I'm sorry.
Oh, a portion.
Okay, we do, our next step is going to be, we have to pay 3 apportionments. That is, we have no choice in that, we have to pay them, but we have several of them. And we would just have to stop paying, you know, or else just pay as much as we can. And when the money runs out, the money runs out. So that is another option we have. We have for years paid 100% of our apportionments. And I would hate for us to go down that road, but that is a road that we may have to go down. Is there any questions on how we would pay any of this, the budget back, or how we would pay any of the options?
When you borrow from the foundation, do you have to pay that back with interest? How does that work? Yes.
Yeah, if you're borrowing from the foundation, then yes, you do have to pay interest back. So that would be included in your monthly payback. Yes, it would be lower than you would get it at a commercial bank. The interest would be certainly lower than that. Is there any other question?